You really don't need another podcast. You don't need to even read another book or watch another movie. You need to move right now. But the thing is, you're scared. You're scared to pick wrong. You're scared to make a mistake, and you're scared to suck at something. So you keep learning all the time as a way to hide. I know that game. I played that game for many years, and it stole many years from me. Welcome back to Be Unafraid podcast. If you've been collecting books, binging podcast episodes, and watching videos over and over again, but you still don't find yourself able to do that thing, and now you're feeling stuck, then this episode is for you. Because the over-preparing and overthinking that you're doing is really just fear in disguise. It's fear of what other people are going to think about you, fear of failing, and the fear that you're not going to look like you have it all together. I used to believe that I needed more. I needed more things, more knowledge, more time. But what I realized is that I didn't necessarily need more knowledge or more time. What I needed was the courage to actually step into the unknown and the confidence to fully trust in myself and trust that I could actually execute and do the thing. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to stop hiding from that whole concept of overthinking, over-preparing, or still learning mode so that you can actually put something into action and start to chip away and accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish and get things done. The process that I'm going to share with you is called the M.O.V.E method, M-O.V.E. And this is the process that's going to help you stop hiding and finally take that first step into doing that thing. So you have something that you want to do. You have something you want to accomplish. You have a goal. You have an objective. You have something you want to dive into. It can be anything, really. It can be in your career. It can be in your finances, in your relationships, in your physical fitness, anything that you want to do, but you feel resistance. You feel stuck. You feel like you're not ready. And you feel like you just need to study more, prepare more, and be 100% certain on that. That is a trap that I found myself falling into a lot and still do quite a lot in my life, but I'm catching myself more and more. And it's because you're overwhelming yourself with how big the task is, and you're trying to tackle the entire thing all at once instead of actually taking a step back and really asking yourself, what do I need to do step by step? This is where the M in the M.O.V.E method comes into play. And the M stands for micro. Micro meaning small, so micro decisions. When you're faced with something, when you're faced with a decision, and you're facing a lot of resistance inside of yourself to do it, a lot of times is because you have the vision, you have the dream, but you can see the work that it takes to actually accomplish that thing, and it's a lot. If you try to take on the whole entire thing all at once, it's just going to feel almost impossible, especially when you're starting something new, especially when it's something that you're not good at or something that you haven't done in a long time or done at all. You really have to take the small step. You have to take the micro move. So you need to pick one small move that you've been putting off, and not the whole entire plan, not the whole entire strategy. You have to make just one decision. You have to make just one small decision that's going to get you closer to doing that thing. So if we take, for example, we'll go with the example of physical fitness. And let's say you want to get in better shape. You've noticed and found yourself to not be in as good of a shape as you used to be, or you really just want to get in better shape for yourself and be healthy for yourself. But you see the long road of getting in shape, and you see the end goal of getting in shape as something that's way, way far away. Instead of trying to think of that vision or that end goal as something that you have to do tomorrow, just ask yourself, what is one micro decision that you can make today and that you can make tomorrow in order for you to actually get started with that goal of getting back in shape? Most of the time, it's maybe changing what you're going to be eating for lunch, what you're going to be eating for dinner. Maybe you change your meals for the next day, the next 2 days, or you go out for a run, or you decide you're going to go to the gym if you have a gym membership and do a workout, right? You're looking at these micro decisions because these are things now that start to look attainable. They start to look like things that you can actually do right now. And the powerful thing about making micro decisions is that it doesn't start with a life plan. You're not sitting down and writing an entire life plan that you're going to fully execute, right? That's a spot that you need to get to eventually. And we can talk about that in future videos because a life plan is very important. But in this particular video, some of you may not even be at the point where you can build that life plan. That lift to actually create a life plan for yourself might feel too heavy. It might feel too scary. You might not even know what to put in your life plan. So I'm talking to the person who's sitting there and wanting to make a decision right now, wanting some way, some tool to use in order to just make progress in their next 24 hours next week, right? So you start with one micro decision. And the key here is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be that perfect meal plan. It doesn't have to be a perfect workout. It doesn't have to be a perfect routine. You just decide that you're going to take this one decision today or tomorrow, and you're going to go execute on it and do it. And then you can think about how you feel afterwards. Now, can you take the second micro decision? And then can you take the third micro decision? And as you build these decisions over and over and over again, it starts to become this snowball effect and this big thing that now creates momentum in your life. Choices are great in life. Having a lot of choices are great in life. But studies have shown that the more options and choices that you give somebody, the less likely they are to make a quick decision about something. It's because you're overwhelming your brain with all these things that now your brain has to think about trade-offs. It has to think about, if I pick this thing and not pick this thing, what do I lose? What do I gain? And now you're playing this whole entire game of options. What the micro decision does is it shrinks that fear of picking the wrong thing. It puts it into a small context to where the decision that you pick and that you decided to make is going to be less scary because it's a small decision and you're not picking something big right now. You will later on, but it always starts with the little things. It's about the little things, not the big things. The big things will come when you execute on the little things. So think about your micro decision for today. What small decision are you going to make? Make that decision and then let me know how that goes for you. If you are tired of hiding behind the concept of getting ready and always feeling stuck in your life, subscribe to this podcast. The Be Unafraid podcast is your call to action, not just information. So let's get back into the episode. The second part of this MOVE method is now the O. We talked about the M, make micro decisions. The next one is the O, and the O stands for own your fear. One thing that we talk about on this podcast is the self-reflection and the internal work that you have to do when you're trying to accomplish anything in life, because oftentimes the thing that's holding you back from actually doing and making progress is yourself. You are the biggest obstacle to yourself. And I used to hear that a lot from a lot of people and a lot of motivational talk, that the biggest enemy that you have is yourself. And I really didn't understand that. I didn't understand that until really recently, that when it boils down to actions and doing things in life, think about the times where you wanted to do something, but you didn't do it. 9.9 times out of 10, it's not because somebody else stopped you from doing it. It's mostly because you stopped yourself from doing it. For whatever reason, you didn't do the thing. Whatever reason, you changed your mind, or you did it, but you weren't fully confident in your ability to actually see it through, so you gave up. That is you. That is the internal work that you have to do to figure out, why am I giving up? Why am I not going after the thing? What am I afraid of? What are you scared of? Whenever you start something new, especially as a beginner, you're going to suck at something. And it's okay to admit that you're scared. You're going to suck at something. It's okay to admit that you're scared of what people are going to say. You're scared to waste your time. It's time that you're putting into all these things, right? You're scared to waste that time. You're scared to put in an investment and then realize that you've lost time, which is the one thing that we never get back, by the way. Realize that fear. Own that fear. And then the next step, once you admit that to yourself, is to just move anyways. Move anyways. Even when you're scared, even when you're terrified, the thing that's going to get you results is action. The answer to everything is always action. You do not get results when you don't take action. Take action even when you're scared. And that is a core foundation of this platform, of this podcast. I named it Be Unafraid for a reason. Be unafraid to take that step into the unknown. Be unafraid to take bold actions. Be unafraid to take the micro decisions, because it's not only bold actions that are scary. Even micro decisions might be something that you're scared of. So be unafraid to take that. And being unafraid starts with owning your fear, and it starts with embracing that fear and understanding that it's part of being a human being. It's part of what's inside of you, but that does not define who you are in your life. Don't hide under these masks of productivity, right? There's a thing that happens when we're afraid to do something is we always find an excuse. One of my favorite quotes is by Bill Bessick, who is a sports psychologist, and he is one of my favorite quotes that I always constantly go back to and think about. And he says that there's always 1,000 excuses, but there's not a single reason not to do something. So when you're chasing after something or when you're struggling with a decision, you're going to have a million excuses come up. And the thing that happens is a lot of these excuses seem very, very valid. And a lot of them are valid and correct. But your brain will do something very interesting. It will start to find ways to create excuses for you. So going back to our physical fitness example that we talked about earlier, you're trying to get in better shape. Chances are all of a sudden you're going to start getting invited out by friends. All of a sudden you're going to start having more work. You're going to get a little busier. All of a sudden you're going to start finding these different errands to run. Like all of these things start to pop up and start eating up your time. And then you now start to tell yourself that I just don't have time. My schedule doesn't allow for it. It's because you're letting these productivity things take over and mask that fear that you're afraid to start that thing. There's a story that I heard before, and it was about this man and this lady. And this lady used to be in shape. She got out of shape. She started raising a family. And now she was at a spot where she wanted to get back in shape. But she kept on telling herself that she didn't have time and that her schedule was so packed with responsibilities to raise a child, raise a family. She just did not have time to go and work out. And one day she asked this man that, hey, I need to know how I can motivate myself to go to the gym. I keep planning to go to the gym on these specific days throughout the week, but things keep coming up. I keep getting busy. How do I make more time in my life and really motivate myself to go at that time? And he flatly asked her and he said, hey, tell me about your kids. Do you feed your kids every single day? And she responded, yes, I do feed my kids every single day. He asked her a follow-up question. Do you ever forget to feed your kids? And she said, no way. I don't forget to feed my kids ever. It's a priority for me to feed my kids. And he responded that that's your answer right there. That's the answer. You don't forget to feed your kids because you've made it a priority in your life. And you understand that if you don't feed your kids, there's going to be consequences to that. Things will happen that you don't want to happen. That same approach is what you need to take to your physical fitness. You need to prioritize it, because when you prioritize it, all of a sudden you're going to protect that time and you're going to find ways to go during that time. That story is key because it's an example of how masking your fears and masking your lack of motivation and productivity with a lot of things that take away your time from doing that thing. And I do that too a lot. There's definitely a lot of goals that I have in my life, things that I want to accomplish, even building this brand and this podcast, and a lot of other different goals. There's so many excuses that pop up, so many excuses. Sitting here making this video, a lot of times, in all honesty, it's not the easiest thing because my brain starts to come up with all these different things that I would rather be doing, right? I love making these videos, but there's something that interesting that happens when you're doing things like these, when you start to dig into the actual work of growing something, is you always face resistance. No matter how much you want to do it, you're always going to face resistance. And then those that can identify that and realize that this is just resistance of my own inherent laziness that's coming out. It's not actually me not feeling like I want to make it. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make it. And the moment I sit down and I start filming this episode and this video, all of a sudden something clicks and I'm back in that zone where I'm flowing and I'm enjoying it. So I have to be careful of that. I have to be careful of spending my time in other areas where it takes away energy from this. I have to be careful of excuses that pop up. Maybe I'm too tired from a long day of work. Maybe I'm just not feeling up to it. I'm not super motivated to go in there and start to talk about some of those things. I don't want to have to do that internal reflection to talk about emotions and things like that, because that takes a lot of energy to do. All of these things start to pop up in my head, but I have to realize and go back and reference that example of that story and go back and reference this point of owning your fear and understanding that you can't hide behind these excuses. You just have to own them, call yourself out on it, and then continue taking that micro decision. The next step is the V, and that is to validate with action, not information. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another book. You don't need another motivational video. You just need to do something today. Something that proves that you're capable of starting something and seeing it through. The answer to everything is raw action. It's always raw action. Understand that. Really, really understand what that means, that there is no movement in your life without raw action. You have to do. You've got to stop consuming. You've got to stop watching other people living out your dreams, watching other people doing the thing that you want to do. Watching other people executing and building and always constantly wondering why you're not accomplishing, why you're not able to do those things. And then you start to think that something's wrong with you. You start to think that you're lacking something that they have. But the difference is they take raw action all the time. They validate their idea by taking raw action. They take in information and then they execute. They take in more information and then they execute. The thing that you're doing and the mistake that I made a lot in my life is I just took in information over and over, new information. For years and years, you're just taking in information. You end up becoming a theorist. You end up becoming a theorist who is somebody that talks about these things in theory, and you become very, very good at telling people about the thing that you want, but you absolutely suck at actually doing it, and you can't do it because you haven't put in the repetitions in there yet. Do not confuse learning with progress. Learning is great, learning is amazing, but there's a reason why we have exams, why we have tests, is because you have to test what you've learned. You have to put it into practice and you have to become a practitioner. When you put it to test and you become a practitioner, that's when you can tell whether or not the thing that you know is actually working for you, or you need to go back and reevaluate, then come back and do it again. Action in life is the only proof. It's the only proof that you can get is through action. Inaction, not actually doing anything, you don't get to prove anything. You don't actually get to work on anything. You need to take that step. You need to take that decision. You need to do that one rep, send that message, read that book and go do something with it. Work on that certification and finish it, and then go do something with it that's going to help you financially, help you and your family. Go get that additional education. In your job, increase your skill set. You want to get promoted, you need to now increase your value and increase your skill set, because you've got to become more valuable in this day and age, especially in this market. Go and figure out how to learn. You have a cell phone, you have a laptop. Learn and then go do. Don't just sit there learning and watching other people doing the thing you want to do. It's time for you to go do. You have to move. You have to validate your ideas, validate the thing that's in your mind with action, not information. The next one is the E, and that stands for embrace. Embrace the mess. It's not going to feel clear. You're going to take that micro decision. You're going to own your fear. You're going to validate with action and not information. And then what you're going to run across is just straight up mess. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be clear. Rarely is ever anything just plain, simple, and easygoing. Something always changes things, makes the thing a little bit more difficult. An equation that you weren't considering might come into play. There's people involved, a lot of different things, right? But that's the point. That's the point about this whole messaging, is that starting clumsy is okay. It's supposed to be clumsy. Everything that you start that you're not good at, that you haven't done before, you're not proficient at, is supposed to be hard, difficult, frustrating, clumsy. But you don't build confidence by knowing that it's clumsy. You build it by doing it in a clumsy way. You build it by doing it messy, and then you survive that initial phase, and that's how growth happens. That's how growth happens. Growth is not a clean thing. Growth is a messy thing, and you have to embrace the messy, and it's not an easy thing to do at all. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's something you can do. A lot of times once you start to embrace that messiness, digging into it a little bit, is you start to face this thing that happens is a lot of you will tie your self-worth into performance. You'll tie it into performance, meaning that you only feel worthy when you're performing well at something. The moment that you perform bad at something, you feel like you're not worthy, you feel down on yourself, and you don't like who you are. You've got to own that. You've got to do the work to understand why you feel that way. And you need to give yourself permission to be bad at something and still show up. Be bad at something and still show up. And I'll tell you an example of my journey in mixed martial arts. So I moved to a whole different state about 9 months ago. And I was practicing mixed martial arts before that. And after I moved out here, I went on a hiatus for quite a while, for a few months, and wasn't practicing mixed martial arts. And recently, a couple of months ago, I went back into mixed martial arts, and I started back again in a new gym, new environment, new state, new people. And I realized that I was not at the skill level that I was before this break. I had lost something. My fundamentals were not there. My cardio was not there. My conditioning was not there. And that edge and that confidence and that courage was lacking by quite a lot. And it felt like I was starting over again. And I had to really go back and catch myself in my mind when I started to spiral into the whole self-pity. Oh, woe is me. I'm not good at this. There's no way I can get this. I don't know how I did it before. And I had to catch myself really, really fast and realize that I need to embrace the mess. That's how I improved last time when I first started training, is I embraced the mess and I sucked at it until I stopped sucking in certain areas and I got better and better. And I took that same mentality, switched my brain, embraced it, and said, I'm going to go and just focus on those fundamentals. And I'm going to drill and drill and drill until that muscle memory comes back and until I'm starting to perform well in the mixed martial arts gym. And you start to see that progress again. You start to see that progress. You start to see the improvement. You start to feel better again. And you realize that it was just you making up things in your head. Everybody that starts something sucks. Everybody that stops doing something for a long time, months and years, and they get back into it, they go right back to sucking. And guess what? They all start clumsy. And the ones that actually succeed and get back to this place where they're actually feeling confident in themselves are those that don't stop and that keep going no matter what. Micro decisions, own your fear, validate with action, not information, and then embrace the messy in all of it. When you follow this M.O.V.E method, you will start to feel momentum. You'll start to feel momentum because now you're doing things. You're not sitting there digesting information anymore and just watching other people do things. You're starting to do things and you don't feel perfect. But you start to feel brave. And then the more brave you feel, the more things you'll start to do. And then those micro decisions now will lead you to doing better and better and bigger things. And all